Standard equation of a hyperbola with the center at HK. So, just like before, things are going to remain the same, except now we're moving the center off the origin. The first thing we have to keep in mind is that the H always stays with the X, the K always stays with the Y. So down here, when we switch, or I'm sorry, on the second page here, when we switch the X and the Y, the K is still with the Y, and the H is still with the X. So be careful, because if we're doing a center of HK, this is really XY. So the H value is always traveling with that X variable, and the K value is always traveling with that Y variable. Other than that, things are going to remain the same. The A is always under the first one, the B is always under the second one. So A first, B second, and then it's still subtraction, and it still has to equal 1. If the X variable is listed first with the A, then the hyperbola cuts through the X axis. If the Y variable is listed first with the A, then the hyperbola cuts through the Y axis. And then it also has a transverse axis, which is parallel to the Y, versus this one has a transverse axis, which is parallel to the X. Example 6. What is the standard form equation of the hyperbola that has the given vertices and the given foci? Starting out, we're going to make a rough sketch. Vertices are at 0, -2, and 6, -2. Now, if those are my vertices, I know first of all that my transverse axis is lying right here, which means my hyperbola is going to go through my vertices and take on a shape that looks something like this. Because of that, I know that my X variable has to come first because it kind of cuts through the X. So roughly, we're looking at X minus H squared over A squared minus Y minus K squared over B squared equals 1. The X has to come first because my transverse axis is parallel to my X axis. Now, from here with my vertices, I'm going to do this distance. This is at 0, this is at 6, so I know that total distance is 6, which means my A is now going to be 3. If A is 3, that means my center has to be about 3 away from both. So my center now is going to be at 1, 2, 3, -2. So center is at 3, -2, which means this is my H and that is my K. We also know A, so we still have to find something else. We need to find B. So our other piece of information was our foci. Our foci are at -2, -2, and at 8, -2. So this guy's at -2, this guy's at 8. My total distance here is going to be 10. We're talking about foci, so that's C has to be half of that, which is 5. 5 from the left, 5 from the right. Now, that does not help me in finding my B value. Well, I mean, I have A, I need B, so I'm going to go back to my relationship of C squared equals A squared plus B squared. If C is 5, I know this is 25. If A is 3, I know this is 9 plus B squared. So subtract 9 from both sides of the equation. 16 is B squared, and at that point we can kind of stop. I'm going to go back up here. X minus H. We know that H is 3 squared over A squared. We know A is 3. 3 squared is 9. Minus Y minus K. K is -2 plus 2 squared over B squared. We just found B squared is 16 equals 1. And there's your equation. Number 7. What is the standard form equation of the hyperbola that has the given vertices and the given foci? So vertice is at 1, -2, and 1, 8. So this is at -2, this is at 8. Couple things I know here. First of all, because these are my vertices, I know that my parabola is going to have to travel, or not my parabola, my hyperbola is going to have to travel this way through my vertices. Because that's happening and it's parallel, it's not parallel, but it kind of like lines up with your x-axis, or cuts through, in this case it cuts through the y-axis. I'm sorry I said that backwards. Cuts through the y-axis, we know that we're going to have y minus k. Remember, the k value always sticks with the y, and then a squared minus x minus h, because h always sticks with your x. So we know that's going to be our standard form. We just have to go find everything and start plugging it in. From vertice to vertice, that's from 8 to -2 is 10, which means I know that my a value is 5. So that's going to help me right over there. Then if I need my center, I'm going to take 5 away from 8, which is going to put me down here at 3. So I know my center is going to be at 1, 3. From there, my foci are at 1, -10, so over 1, down 10, and 1, 16. So over 1, up 16. The distance from foci to foci, if I'm at -10 up to 16, is 26, which means my c value is half of that, which is 13. So if I need to find my b value, we have c squared equals a squared plus b squared. C is 13, so if we square it, we get 169. A is 5, so if we square that, we're going to get 25 plus b squared. Then if we take 169 minus 25, we get 144 equals b squared. And again, we could take the square root of that, but we really don't have to. So let's start filling in what we know. So we have y minus k. Keep in mind, this is h, this is k, so we're going to do -3. Over a squared. A we said was 5, so a squared is 25. Minus x minus h, well, h is 1, over b squared, and b squared we found was 144, equals 1.